couple of weeks ago, I put out a video on Instagram that said this.
You're not losing weight, you're eating too little. Our bodies have a basal...
And that sparked a comment calling me out on it. What kind of doctor are you? That hurt my pride a little bit. Then there was another comment, then there was another comment. So, whilst I'm happy to hold my hands up if something I put was misleading, and I know that being a doctor is no guarantee of nutritional wisdom, most doctors don't know anything about weight loss, I do think that when you try and sum up content in 30 seconds, a minute or less, especially when they're quite complex topics, that it's very easy to lose context, and then some things can be very easily misinterpreted. And so because I thought it would be useful, but mainly because it hurt my pride, but also because it's useful, I thought that I would do a long form video on my YouTube channel to try and explain exactly how we lose weight, calories in versus calories out, and how complex this whole process is, and try and make it a little bit more understandable. So hopefully it's of some use to you. Now, if you were to look at all those comments, essentially what I said was something along the lines of, if you eat too little, then you'll struggle to lose weight. And in typical fashion, most of the comments were something like, well, what about starving people that become malnourished and lose weight? Oh, well, then if you didn't eat, then you wouldn't die of starvation. Comments along the same lines. Now, before I get into this, I want you to understand the human body is really complex. The process that go into it are still not even completely fully understood. And I've sat with professors who have studied this for most of their professional career. And even now, there's still some questions that remain unanswered, some things that can't be fully explained, and some evidence that contradicts the other. I also want to say that whilst I think this education is useful, I personally don't agree on counting calories. I think that life's too short for that. I think that it takes away the enjoyment that we can get from food and living life. And we should be working our way towards a balanced diet where we eat in moderation, eat enough to have energy, focus, and sleep better. That's, for me, the ultimate goal. But I do understand that, especially for people who are struggling with their weight or starting out on a weight loss journey, that counting calories can be very useful, and tracking what they eat and going into the science of it is useful for them. So if that's how you want to start, that's absolutely fine. With all that said, let's get into it. So you want to lose weight. Calories in versus calories out. Right? Wrong. It is much more complex than that. And explaining it in a way that is easy to understand is almost just as complex. So you may have to bear with me on this one. Okay, so to understand metabolism, we have to talk about your calories burnt. And calories burnt is kind of better understood as your total daily energy expenditure. This is the amount of energy that your body requires in a day. In essence, this is the amount of calories you burn in a day. This is your calories out portion. It is made up of 4 different components. Number 1, basal metabolic rate. Basal metabolic rate is the energy required to maintain basic life-sustaining function. Basically, if you wake up, do not move a muscle, don't even twitch. Just stay absolutely still. This is the energy that's required to keep you alive. Your body still has to burn energy to maintain your lung function, to be able to think, breathe, regulate your temperature. It's strictly just the amount of energy you need to survive. Number 2, then we have physical activity. This is the energy you burn in physical activity. So going to the gym, exercising, going for a run, any kind of workout or physical activity that you do. Number 3, we have NEAT. NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And simply put, this is the amount of energy that you burn not relating to any intentional physical activity that you do. So basically, this is all the movement that you do in the day. So not when you're working out actively, not when you're actually doing an exercise, but just when you're getting up, walking around the house, going up the stairs instead of taking the lift, getting your phone from over there. It's in the name, non-exercise energy burning. And NEAT is key, but I'm going to come back to it. The last and 4th component is thermic effect of food. And this is essentially the energy needed to digest and absorb your food. Yeah, it takes energy to eat because your body burns energy when it absorbs and metabolizes that food. And protein has the highest thermic effect of all of the macronutrients. So it actually requires more energy to consume protein in comparison to a lot of the other foods that you eat. And that's another reason why I preach high protein diet for anybody who's trying to lose weight, not necessarily just trying to build muscle. Okay, so all of these 4 components make up your energy burnt in a day, i.e. the amount of calories that you burn in a day. You with me so far? So what happens when you go into an extreme calorie deficit? Let's say you work out that your total daily energy expenditure is 2,000 calories a day. And by the way, it's very difficult to accurately measure your total daily energy expenditure without specialist equipment. There are online calculators that can give you a rough estimate. Total daily energy expenditure is 2,000 calories a day. That's how much you burn. So then you think, let me go into a 1,000 calorie deficit, because if I go into a 1,000 calorie deficit, then I must be able to lose weight fast, surely, right? But here's the thing. Your body is very good at adaptation. It's very good at trying to keep things balanced and trying to not really change things too much. So when you reduce your calorie intake by such a significant amount, like 1,000 calories, your body will do what it does best and lower your total daily energy expenditure to try and make up for your sudden drop in calories. How does it do this? Well, research into relative energy deficiency shows that processes that aren't required for immediate survival will get less energy. So basically things like your digestion, menstruation, immunity, cell repair, things that aren't required immediately there and then to keep you alive will reduce. This means that your recovery time, your ability to fight off disease, it all gets reduced as your body is trying to adapt to the extreme reduction in calories by reducing the TDEE, total daily energy expenditure. So as well as reducing the absolute necessary things that aren't needed for survival, which it usually does by lowering your basal metabolic rate, interestingly, it will also reduce your NEAT. And this is what we talked about earlier that I said I'll come back to. NEAT, if you remember, is the non-exercise energy burning, the energy you burn in your day just moving around, climbing stairs, etc. Now, a lot of NEAT is actually subconscious. Your body will reduce your NEAT by making you move around less, and you won't even realize it. You'll think of it as feeling sluggish, feeling tired, feeling like, I just don't really have that much energy today. You won't climb the stairs, you'd rather take the lift. You won't get off the sofa to pick up a phone call. You won't get off the sofa to pick up the remote. You won't go and wash the dishes. You'll just be generally lazy, sluggish, tired, lack of energy. That is the body reducing the NEAT to compensate. All of this is the body reducing your total daily energy expenditure. So what does this all mean? Well, whilst you think you're in 1,000 calorie deficit, which means you're going to lose weight really fast in time for that wedding in 3 weeks, you're not actually in as much of a deficit as you think. Now, don't get me wrong. In this time, you will be losing weight because you are in a deficit. But because of the reduction, because of the compensation with the total daily energy expenditure, it's just not going to be as much of a deficit as you think. On top of that, to make things worse, because your body notices this extreme drop in calories, it then also stops caring about what it is that it gets rid of. So as well as losing fat and weight that you will lose, you'll also lose muscle because the body's not trying to preserve anything anymore. It's not saying, oh, well, he's eating enough calories and enough protein to preserve his muscle and we'll keep, it just gets rid of everything. But muscle is actually beneficial to us because the more muscle you have, the higher your basal metabolic rate is because muscle requires energy to keep. So actually having more muscle helps increase your calorie expenditure. When the body just loses everything and loses muscle as well, you're actually even further driving your basal metabolic rate down. So you go on extreme calorie deficit, your body adapts to it. The deficit isn't as much as you would like. So then what do? Well, the only sensible thing you can think of, you go even further down in your calories. Make it more extreme. And now you're on a race to the bottom. So I hope that makes sense. When I say that eating too little will make it harder for you to lose weight, I mean that putting yourself into an extreme calorie deficit is not going to have the weight loss goals that you think they will. What will happen is that you will lose a little bit of weight, but not as much as you think. You will feel terrible. You'll feel sluggish. You'll get ill easier. Your sleep will be worse. Your mood will be worse. Your focus will be worse. Your energy levels will be in your boots, and then you'll just give up, or you'll get ill and give up. It's very common for females to lose their menstrual cycle or get very irregular menstrual cycles, and this is a worrying sign that this might be happening to you. Now, there is an exception when it comes to people who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, but this is not the topic of this video, but it's just a note to people who do have it that this may not apply to you, and it may be something that you have to look into further. And to address the comments in my Instagram saying, what about starving people around the world? Yes, obviously, because they have consistently low extreme calories, because they're in such dire and unfortunate situations and they don't actually have any access to food, they do lose weight because you will lose weight if you're in a calorie deficit. You just won't lose weight as fast as you think you are. So for people in those situations who are genuinely starving, over a period of time, the body will make those metabolic adaptations, but they will still lose weight. And eventually they will become extremely, extremely skinny. They will also become extremely ill and malnourished. They have no muscle mass, they have poor immunity, poor cell repair, and they are fighting for their lives and struggling to survive. The same goes for people who are anorexic or have eating disorders. They have prolonged extreme calorie restriction. And so over time they lose weight, but they're also putting themselves at risk of ill health. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you can now see why an extreme calorie deficit will make you lose weight, but it's probably not going to give you the results that you want. It's probably not something that you're going to be able to keep up for a long time. And it's just not the way that you want to go about losing weight. So what do? Well, a much healthier and better way of losing weight is to aim for a much, much smaller calorie deficit. So you can use a calorie calculator to work out roughly what your maintenance calories are. And then you aim for, I would say, no more than 10% less than your maintenance calories. This allows you to have the energy to work out, move more. It doesn't make you feel exhausted or burnt out, and it keeps your energy, focus, and immunity up. and it gives you the time that you need to lose weight, because it's something that you can sustain, because you feel good, because it allows you to improve in the gym and get better at building muscle and working out. It gives you the time that you actually need to lose that weight slowly and healthily. That's it. I hope that helps. I hope you understand. I hope it gives you a better idea of why extreme calorie restrictions shouldn't work for somebody who wants to be healthy, get fitter, look better, feel better. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and I will see you all very soon.